Hello everyone. This is just a little video I'm going to put together. I've noticed a lot of people when they buy a helicopter, especially a 6-channel, usually they come ready to fly. The transmitter, the helicopter, everything you need, the battery, everything, the charger, everything you need to fly the helicopter is in it. They get it out of the box. It's usually just a matter of adjusting the fine tunings. You'll have your forwards and backwards, your left, right, and this is usually for your rotor trim. And of course you have forwards, backwards, up, down. I'm sorry, up, down, left, right with the tail rotor, forwards, backwards movement, sideways, left, right for the pitch for the main rotor. I've seen a lot of people have questions. Usually it happens after they crash and they rebuild their helicopter, or they crash and they maybe have a bent shaft, or they maybe break a rotor blade or something minor. They buy the new parts, they put the helicopter back together, and it spins. In other words, when they have the helicopter and they're powering it up, the whole helicopter itself will spin. And they scratch their heads, they can't figure out what's wrong. My first step when this happens, generally when you buy it and you're flying it, it doesn't spin. It's usually after you crash you have a spin, and that's usually a case of a gear. I have found through experience that here on the back you have the gear belt, the rear tail blade gear. There's two gears to the belt. There's the back and then there's the front. The back gear, if you notice, if you hold on to the back rotor with one hand and turn the blades with the other hand, you shouldn't have any slippage. I mean, you shouldn't have to really force the blade. It will slip if you force it, but generally you shouldn't get any slipping. If you do get slipping, you're going to have to change the back gear. And on this one is a little different. As you can notice, the tail belt goes around the main shaft instead of a different gear here that runs off of another gear off the main shaft. Primarily, if I had this helicopter spinning, I would almost 9 times out of 10, the problem's going to be the tail belt. So if you take it apart, take the tail off, change that gear out and put a new one in. And the best thing to do when you do that, when you order them, you get the front, and you get 9 times out of 10 you'll get both gears. So change them both and get a new belt. Change that too. Now, rebuilding, I have some videos. There are videos on YouTube, plus I had posted some on that you can find, but also it tells you how to put these back together. They're real simple. It's really not complicated. Not in time. What you want to remember is that when you put these together, you want to make sure that your servo arm is at a 90-degree angle. In other words, it needs to be at a 90-degree angle with the helicopter. This one was turned off, so these aren't centered right now, but when you power it up, these should be centered or pretty close to it. Okay, guys? And then you adjust the trims on the transmitter. That's usually after you power it up. You have to trim it out. You're not going to put together one of these and have it fly perfectly. It's not going to happen. You have to trim these out in order to get stable flight. But when you put them together, you want to make sure that the servo is in the neutral position. Make sure it's at a 90-degree angle before you power it up. After it's powered up, if this thing's sitting down or if it's sitting up, it's not right. You're going to have to take this off and reset this to the 90-degree angle. And then you can do your adjustments accordingly to get your swash plate level and your pitch and everything else. Okay, so that's basically kind of like what I wanted to go over. The same way on the tail, you're going to want the servo arm at a 90-degree angle. When you first set these up, it's best to plug in your servo wire, the servo wire coming off the gyro, directly into the rudder of the receiver. This assures that because of the gyro, if it's plugged in this way, when it's got juice to it, that the servo arm will move because of the gyro. So if you plug the wire from the gyro directly into the receiver, you'll eliminate that movement and you'll be able to get this pretty close to a 90. You want to get the arm, the control rod of the tail pretty centered. You want to get this at a 90, and then you want to make sure that your tail shaft back here, that this is centered. So when this is at a 90, when the tail servo is at a 90, and this is centered, that's pretty good. That's pretty close. Once you've achieved that, tighten everything up. Then you'll probably have to set your excuse me, guys. You'll probably have to set your rudder mix gyro, and you do that by powering your helicopter up until it just starts to spin. This should be in the off position with both knobs zeroed for your V1, V2. Once the helicopter's spinning and these are at 0 and this is off, go ahead and flick the rudder mix gyro on. Then you can adjust your knobs to eliminate your spin. Once you've done that, you're not going to probably make it stop completely, but get it to where it just barely moves, and then you want to turn your switch back off. That sets it for the transmitter, and then once you go from there, then you just adjust your trim for your tail rotor, and that should get your tail stable. If that doesn't work, if you still get spin, chances are you didn't adjust your you didn't actually fix the problem. The belt has a lot to do. Maybe you don't have the right tension. Maybe it's a bad belt. It's like I said, when you change these gears, make sure you change the belt too. And then follow my steps on setting your rudder mix for your transmitter. And then once that's done, you guys shouldn't have a problem getting it in the air. That's about all I got for now. There is one other thing that I'd like to add. What I had done here, you can see this is an XI main rotor assembly, and I have a Dynam 450 Razor. What I did was, this is real easy to do. I left the existing swash plate how it is exactly on the Dynam. The swash plate and the main shaft are the only thing that's Dynam. What I did was, here where they connect to the servo or to the swash plate, I disconnected the linkage that the XI swash plate and just connected it to the Dynam. It was real easy. It bolted right up. As you can see, it bolted right up. It was perfect match for the shaft, and this made the helicopter a lot better. I've got the carbon fiber blades, carbon fiber paddles, although I did leave my weights on for added stability. If I was going to do more stunt flying, I'd probably take these weights off. Otherwise, that's kind of like what I did on the rotor. It's real easy to do. There's no drilling, nothing. The only thing you got to do is watch what you excuse me. Just watch what you're doing when you're doing this. It's a pretty simple procedure, and I just like it. It's a lot better than the Dynam